Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about my key bindings when I play World of Warcraft. So I have got a lot of questions about what key binding are you using, and actually yesterday I also got the question on my live stream, how is your keybinds? And of course just on the live stream you can just look down in my keybinds and you can actually see what I'm actually using. But let me try explain what I actually are using my keybinds for. So for example, how would I use my different spells? Where would I actually mainly place them? So and so on. So let's go down to my action bars. So the first 5 or 6 spells I have is like my primary spells. So always 1 to 6 is what you can say closest to my hands, are the spells I'm using the most. So for example, on my priest I'm using Power Word Shield, Penance, Shadowmant, Power Word Radiance, Smite and Power Word Solace. Those 6 spells are my most used spells, and I always have my most used spells on 1 to 6. Then from 7 to 0 is actually spells that I almost never use. Of course I know that Shadowfind is a spell that I use on every burst combat or something like that. In PvP for example I'm using it on burst, so I can easily click on 7 on my keyboard without a problem. But this spell is only ready every 3rd minute, so I don't need to have it on an active spot. I can keep it on 7. But 8, 9 and 0 is like spells I mostly never use. For example, Holy Nova, I can see it's cool enough to find a rogue, or maybe do some trash mob AoE damage, but not really that good. Shock London, I mean, who uses that spell anymore in 2019? And my buff, honestly, I just click on it with my mouse. I just click. Then a cool thing, because you probably have noticed from 1 to 6 that I'm actually missing my debuff as a Discipline Priest. So for example, I'm using Purge of the Wicked over here, and then you're probably thinking, why is it all over there? But that's actually because I have my next key binding over here, and that is my bottom half. You know, well, on my keyboard the bottom left to 1 is half. So I'm using actually half to very quick debuff people. It's just next to my number 1, and that's why my debuff is so easy for me to cast. My next spell is Leap of Fate, where I actually drag people. So for the most I have, actually when I play on a damage dealer, the half is always my interrupt. So if I play warrior, monk, no matter who got interrupt on spellcast, I always have it on half. But in this case I don't have half because I'm not a damage dealer. I'm a healer, and the only healer who has a you can say interrupt is shamans. So in this case for my priest I just have the debuff, and that works very well for me. But if you play a damage dealer, I will recommend having your half on interrupt. The next one is actually a bit up to you. I always use some kind of a survivability or movement spell. For example, if I played Shaman on this one here, that's actually my middle mouse. So the one you scroll in and out from your character. If you click down on that one, you can actually use that also for a key binding, and I'm using it on that one. When I play Shaman, I have my middle mouse as Ghost Wolf. On Priest, I use my Leap of Fate, and I mean, you can pretty much choose whatever you want to have there. Then that was the first row, or you can say the basics. The next row I have, the first slot I have Purify. So the first slot here, I actually use my mouse button. So you know, when you have a button, some gaming mouses have 2 buttons on the left side. You have one back and one forth, and the forth is mouse button 4, and the back is mouse button 5. And well, on my mouse. And my mouse button 4, I always have it on this one here. Normally when I play damage dealer, I always have my stun here. So if I have a stun for example, I normally put it on this one here. But in this case I don't really have a stun, so that's why I'm using Purify instead. So it's very quick and easy for me to actually remove some buffs. well, magic effects on my friends. And again, it's it's just next to my normal clicks, so it's very quick for me. Then I have the next, you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells. Z, X, F, G, T. Those slots are actually my cooldowns. I always only use these slots for cooldowns. So Z, X, F, G, T. These are always my cooldowns. So you know, every class has a lot of cooldowns you can use for burst, survivability, and so on. And this is always my cooldowns. First, I try to put in my survivabilities. So for example, if I played a damage dealer and I had a survivability cooldowns, that will be the 2 or 3 first spells, and then my damage spells will be the next. Because I feel like FGT is better when I actually deal damage, and ZX is better when I actually have defensive. In this case, I'm playing a healer, so everything is like defensive, but still. So I really like to use ZXFGT. Just keep in mind, if you're putting Z on, you're removing normally you use the button Z to take your weapon in your hand and remove the weapon in your hand. And I mean, I don't need that. So I can live without having that ability. When you use X, you're removing that you have your key binding on sitting. So normally when you clicked on X, you sit down, and I don't need that too. If I'm not really sure what that's supposed normally to do. Maybe it was not even bind. G, I don't think that one was bind at all. And T was normally attack. So for example, if you had a target close to you, you wanted to auto attack, you could press T, but I mean, I would normally just click on him or use a spell and it will do the same job. So yeah. So cooldowns, stun, or some kind of a important ability, all my other stuff down here that I explained. And then I have shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, shift 4, shift 5, shift 6. These abilities are actually quite easy to use because I just have to hold down shift and then just click on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I always do is that I always have shift 1, shift 2, and shift 3 is always my crowd control. So in this case, I have fear on shift 1, mind control on shift 2, and if I had another crowd control, if I for example played another race like a panda who has a sap also, I would put that on shift 3. But in this case, I only have 2, you can say crowd control, so I have shift 1, shift 2, and then rest of the spells is actually just the other spells I need for playing my class. For example, I also need Dispel Magic, Mass Dispel, my PvP trinket, and some water. So when having all this, I actually have all my spells I need to play with. So if you can fit your spells into these 2 rows and put exactly the same cooldowns, I'm pretty sure you will feel confident and, well, pretty good playing. So I mean, that was pretty much my key binding guide. So I hope you enjoyed this key binding guide, and if you have any questions at all, well, just leave down a comment and ask if I find anything. I mean, but these key bindings here, I have been playing them with them for a very long time. But before I actually used this keybind, I used to click. So you know, every time I had to use one of my spells, I would just click, 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 you know, click. And I know when you watch some of my PvP movies, I still sometimes click. But that's because sometimes when I get stressed or when I get, you know, in stress situations, I still sometimes click, but it's not because I want to click or because I know my key bindings, but it's just because, you know, sometimes you get stressed, and even when you get stressed, you may be not able to actually use your key bindings because, but I guess, I mean, if I play PvP every day the next 1 year, or maybe next 2 months, I will be sure that the key bindings will be 100% in your head. But I normally don't play on that hardcore level, you can say. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. So, thanks guys for watching, and leave down a comment if you have any questions. Else, I can just say, see you in the next video. Peace out.